Beloved child, before you scroll away, stay with me for just a few moments, because what you are about to hear is not an accident. You have carried a burden for so long that even the people closest to you cannot see its weight. You smile when they ask if you're okay. You answer, "I'm fine," while your heart quietly whispers, "I'm exhausted." You have become so used to carrying everything alone that you no longer remember what it feels like to truly rest. But I have watched every silent battle. I saw the nights when you lay awake, replaying conversations in your mind. The mornings when you forced yourself to smile. The prayers you never finished because the tears came before the words. Nothing about your pain has escaped my eyes. There is something I want you to understand today. The reason your heart struggles to let go is not because you are weak. It is because you have been hurt. You trusted people who walked away. You believed promises that were never kept. You opened your heart only to watch it break. Little by little, you convinced yourself that holding everything tightly was the only way to survive. So now you hold on to every relationship, every opportunity, every plan, every answer, because somewhere deep inside you fear that if you loosen your grip for even a moment, everything will fall apart. But my child, that heavy weight you keep carrying, I never asked you to carry it. You were never created to control tomorrow. You were never created to solve every problem before it arrives. You were never created to live every day preparing for another disappointment. I created you to walk with me, not ahead of me, not behind me, but beside me. Listen carefully. Fear has been whispering to you for far too long. It tells you that if you stop worrying, you will lose everything. It tells you that if you stop controlling every detail, life will become chaos. It tells you that no one will protect you unless you protect yourself. But fear has always been a liar. My word says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5-6. Notice something. I did not ask you to understand everything. I asked you to trust me because trust begins exactly where your understanding ends. There is a story I want to remind you of, a story that many people read, but few truly live. When the disciples found themselves trapped in the middle of a violent storm, the waves crashed against their boat, and every passing second made them believe they were about to die. Experienced fishermen lost hope. Strong men became terrified. Everything around them screamed that the end had come. But there was one thing they forgot. I was still in the boat. The storm was real. The wind was real. The fear was real. But my presence was greater than all of them. Maybe your life feels like that storm today. Bills keep growing, doors keep closing, people keep disappointing you. The answers you've prayed for still haven't arrived, and quietly, you have begun asking yourself, God, are you still with me? My beloved child. If you remember nothing else from this message, remember this: a storm has never been stronger than my voice. The waves may rise, but they will never rise above my authority. Right now, I am asking you to stop fighting a battle that was never yours to win. Lay down the weight, release the fear, open the hands that have grown tired from holding everything together, because I have not brought you this far to leave you now. Stay with me. What I'm about to reveal next may completely change the way you see everything you've been struggling to hold on to. Before we continue, tell me something in the comments. Lord, today I choose to trust you more than my fear. Write it with faith, not because your problems have disappeared, but because you believe I am greater than every one of them. And if this message has already touched your heart, don't leave yet. The next part is where I will show you why some of the closed doors in your life were never punishments. They were protection. My beloved child, take a slow breath, because what I am about to show you may heal a question you have carried for years. You have asked me, why did that relationship fall apart? Why did that opportunity disappear? Why did that prayer seem to go unanswered? You thought heaven had become silent. But silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes, silence is where I am working the deepest. Think back for a moment. Remember that door you begged me to open. You cried, you fasted, you believed with all your heart that it was the answer to your future, yet somehow it closed. At the time, you felt rejected. You wondered if I had forgotten you. But today I want you to see it through my eyes. What if that closed door wasn't my rejection? What if it was my protection? A child does not always understand why a loving father pulls them back from the road. The child only sees the disappointment. The father sees the speeding truck. You only saw the closed door. I saw the danger behind it. You only saw the opportunity you lost. I saw the heartbreak it would have created. You only saw the dream disappearing. I saw the purpose waiting somewhere greater. My child, you judge moments. I see generations. You see one page. I already know the ending of the story. That is why my timing will never panic, my plans will never rush, and my promises never expire. Do you remember Joseph? He dreamed of greatness. But before the palace, there was a pit. Before authority, there was slavery. Before honor, there was prison. If Joseph had judged my love by his circumstances, he would have believed I abandoned him. But every painful season became another step toward the place I had prepared long before he was born. The pit was not the end. The prison was not the end. Delay was never denial. Preparation often wears the clothes of disappointment. Perhaps you are living inside one of those seasons today. You cannot understand why life feels slower than everyone else's. You watch other people celebrating while you are still waiting. You wonder, when will it finally be my turn? Listen carefully. Comparison has stolen more peace than failure ever has, because comparison convinces you that I have forgotten your name. But I have never confused your story with someone else's. The flowers bloom at different times, the stars appear at different hours, even the seasons obey different assignments. Why should your life be any different? I have never asked you to race another soul. I have only asked you to walk faithfully with me. There are blessings that arrive quickly, and there are blessings that must grow deep roots before they can carry the weight of what is coming. If I gave certain things to you too early, they would have become burdens instead of blessings. So when you thought I was delaying you, many times I was actually developing you. While you prayed for an open door, I was strengthening the person who would one day walk through it. Because the greatest miracle is not only changing your circumstances. Sometimes the greatest miracle is changing your heart before your circumstances change. My beloved child, you keep asking me to remove every storm. But what if the storm is teaching you to hear my voice more clearly? Gold is not ruined by fire. It is refined. A seed is not buried because it has been forgotten. It is buried because it is about to grow. In the same way, some seasons feel like burial, when in reality they are preparation. The enemy wants you to interpret every delay as defeat. But heaven calls it preparation. The enemy whispers, "It's over," I whisper, "I'm just getting started." The enemy points to what you lost. I point to what I am building. The enemy wants your attention fixed on yesterday. I am already preparing tomorrow. So stop measuring my faithfulness by what you cannot yet see. Remember, Noah built the ark before the rain appeared. Abraham walked before seeing the promise fulfilled. David was anointed king, yet waited years before wearing the crown. Faith has never depended on visible evidence. Faith has always depended on my character, and my character has never changed. I cannot fail you. I cannot abandon you. I cannot forget you, even when your emotions tell you otherwise. There is another truth I need you to hear. Some of the battles exhausting you today, you were never supposed to fight. You spend hours imagining conversations that never happen. You carry tomorrow's worries before tomorrow even arrives. You replay old wounds until they feel fresh again. Meanwhile, the peace I offered sits untouched. My child, you cannot hold fear in one hand and expect to fully receive my peace with the other. Something has to be released. That is why I keep inviting you to surrender. Not because surrender makes you weaker, but because surrender finally allows my strength to become visible. Paul understood this. When he begged me to remove the thorn from his life, I answered differently than he expected. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Notice, I did not always remove the struggle. I became his strength inside it. Perhaps you have been praying for me to change everything around you, while I have been patiently changing everything within you. And one day, you will look back and realize the greatest answer to your prayer was not the miracle you requested. It was the person you became while waiting for it. So don't lose heart. Don't give up now. You are far closer than you realize. The chapter you are living is not the final chapter. The silence is not the ending. The waiting is not your identity. Your story is still being written. And my hand has never left the page. So before we continue, I want you to pause for one moment, place your hand over your heart, and whisper this prayer with me. Father, even when I don't understand your timing, I choose to trust your heart. Lead me where you want me to go. Close every door that is not meant for me. Open every door that belongs to. My beloved child, there is something about you that almost no one understands. People see your smile, but they never see the conversation that happens inside your mind after everyone else has gone to sleep. They hear your laughter, but they never hear the questions that quietly echo through your heart. What if everything falls apart? What if I fail? What if I trust again and get hurt again? You have become so skilled at hiding your struggles that many people think you are strong. But I know the truth. I know there are nights when your pillow has heard prayers that your lips were too tired to speak. I know there are mornings when getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. I know there were moments when you wanted to give up. Yet somehow, you kept moving. Do you know why? Because even when you could not feel my hand never stopped holding you. There were days you thought you survived because you were strong. No, you survived because my mercy carried you farther than your own strength ever could. Look back for a moment. There were accidents you never knew I protected you from. Conversations I stopped before they destroyed you. Doors I quietly closed before they became disasters. People I removed before they broke something inside you that would have taken years to heal. You called it disappointment. I called it deliverance. You called it bad timing. I called it perfect mercy. My child, the enemy keeps trying to make you focus on everything that didn't happen because he hopes you will forget everything I have already done. But I want you to remember. Who gave you breath this morning? Who carried you through the season you thought would destroy you? Who remained faithful when everyone else changed? Who stayed beside you when even you stopped believing in yourself? It was me. It has always been me, even when you couldn't recognize my footsteps. I was walking beside you, even when heaven seemed silent. I was arranging things you could not yet see. Never confuse my silence with my absence. Roots grow in silence. Healing happens in silence. Seeds break open in silence. The greatest miracles often begin where human eyes see absolutely nothing. That is where faith is born. My beloved child, there is another burden I want you to release today. Stop blaming yourself for everything. You replay old mistakes over and over. You keep asking, if only I had chosen differently, if only I had said something else, if only I had been better. Listen to me. Regret was never meant to become your home. Learn from yesterday, but do not build your future inside it, because I am not the God who only restores opportunities. I restore people, I restore hearts, I restore joy, I restore peace. I restore what fear tried to steal. Remember Peter. He thought one failure had ended his calling. After denying me 3 times, he believed shame would define the rest of his life. But when I met him again, I did not begin with his failure. I began with my love. Because my mercy always speaks louder than your worst mistake. Maybe that is exactly what you need to hear today. You think your failures have disqualified you, I say. My grace is still writing your story. You think your past has the final word, I say. Your future is still in my hands, my child. Stop introducing yourself by your wounds. You are not your heartbreak. You are not your anxiety. You are not your failure. You are not the names people called you. You are mine. That is your identity, and nothing on this earth has the authority to change what I have spoken over you. When fear speaks, answer it with my promises. When doubt grows louder, come closer to my presence. When loneliness surrounds you, remember that you have never walked one single step alone. I have counted every tear. I have heard every whisper. I have seen every hidden battle. Not one of them was wasted. Even this season, the one you are living in right now, will one day become the testimony that gives someone else hope. One day another broken heart will ask, "How did you survive?" And you will quietly smile, not because life was easy, but because you discovered that I never left you. So don't rush the process. Don't force the answer. Don't chase what I have asked you to release. Be still, not because nothing is happening, but because heaven is moving in ways your eyes cannot yet understand. And before we go any further, I want you to do something with me. Close your eyes for just a moment. Take one deep breath and say these words from your heart. Father, I release what I cannot control. I place every fear, every unanswered question, every closed door, and every hidden tear into your hands. Teach me to trust you even when I cannot see what you are doing. Let your peace become stronger than my fear. Amen. If those words came from your heart, then something has already begun to change inside you, because real transformation always begins in surrender, long before it appears in your circumstances. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal next may explain why the answer you've been praying for has taken longer than you expected, and why that delay could become the greatest blessing of your entire life. My beloved child, you reach the point where silence feels heavier than answers, where waiting feels like wandering, where prayer feels like it is echoing back to you instead of reaching heaven. And yet, I need you to hear something clearly today. Nothing about your life is stuck. Nothing about your story is forgotten. And nothing about your delay is wasted, because I am still writing, just not in the way you expected. You see the delay, but I see protection inside it. You feel the pause, but I see preparation inside it. You call it not happening yet, but I call it not ready yet. There were things you prayed for that I did not give you immediately, not because I didn't hear you, but because I did hear what would happen after I gave it to you, and I loved you too much to rush it. You once thought, if it's from God, it should come quickly. But I am not only the God of speed, I am the God of alignment, and alignment sometimes takes longer than desire. Let me show you something deeper. There were doors you begged me to open, but behind those doors were versions of you were not yet strong enough to carry. There were relationships you tried to save, but I saw what you could not see, the slow erosion of your peace. There were opportunities you cried for, but I knew they would have pulled you away from who you are becoming. So I delayed what you wanted, to protect what you didn't yet understand. My child, the delay was never rejection. It was rescue in disguise. Commentary moment. Pause here and think. How many things didn't work out that you later realized would have broken you? How many no's became silent protection? The enemy whispers, if it didn't happen, it means you're not worthy. But I whisper something stronger. If it didn't happen, it means I was still building you. Because before I change your situation, I change your strength. Before I open the door, I prepare your identity. Before I answer the prayer, I prepare your endurance. Do you remember Joseph? He was given a dream of greatness, but then placed in pits, prisons, and pauses. From the outside, it looked like delay, but from my view, it was development. because if I had taken him straight to the palace, he would have broken under the weight of it. So I trained him in silence, I shaped him in rejection, I matured him in waiting, until one day the palace didn't destroy him, it recognized him. My beloved child, that is what I am doing with you. You are not being punished in the waiting. You are being prepared in it, and I know waiting can feel like forgetting, but I have not forgotten a single detail of your life. Not your tears, not your prayers, not even the ones you stopped praying because they hurt too much to repeat. I collected them all, and I stored them in timing, not silence, because when my timing arrives, what felt delayed will suddenly feel perfect, and you will say, "Now I understand why it didn't happen back then." Commentary moment. Read this slowly. Sometimes the delay is not about what you asked for. It's about who you needed to become first. My child, do not let waiting convince you that nothing is happening, because while you are watching the clock, heaven is arranging details. Names are being positioned, doors are being prepared, paths are being cleared, and battles you never saw are already being won. But I also need you to do something in this season. Stop fighting the process. Stop rushing the timing. Stop trying to force what I am still forming. Instead, trust the unseen work, because what I am building in silence will not break in public. And now listen carefully. The reason this season feels heavier than others is not because you are weaker. It is because what is coming next is heavier than anything you've carried before. You asked me for more, but I am making sure you can hold more without losing yourself. So stay faithful in the waiting, stay soft in the silence, stay close even when answers feel far, because I am not delaying your life. I am aligning it. And before we continue further, I want you to understand this deeply. What is coming is not just an answer. It is a turning point, a shift you will remember for the rest of your life. So breathe and don't give up in the middle of preparation, because the story is not paused. It is being perfected. My beloved child, you have walked through silence long, enough to start believing it is your final destination. But I need you to understand something that will change how you see your entire journey. Silence was never the ending. It was always the setup for revelation. What you called delay, I called precision. What you called confusion, I called construction. What you called loss, I called redirection. And what you called why me, I've always answered with one truth. Because I am still not finished with you. You didn't realize it. But I was protecting the timing of your breakthrough, because not every breakthrough is a blessing when it arrives too early. Some answers require maturity, or they become burdens. Some doors require preparation, or they become destruction. Some blessings require identity, or they become pressure you cannot carry. So I waited, not because I forgot, but because I was making sure that when it arrives, it doesn't break you, it elevates you. Commentary moment. Read this carefully. Sometimes what you prayed for is not late. It is being synchronized with who you are becoming, my child. You thought I was silent in your hardest seasons, but I was actually removing invisible dangers from your path, things you never saw, collapsing, things you never heard being stopped, things you never realized were intercepted before they reached you. And I know you didn't celebrate those rescues because you didn't see them. But heaven counts unseen mercy more than visible miracles. Now listen closely, because I am about to show you the hidden reason behind your waiting. It was not just protection, it was positioning. You were not only being prepared for a blessing, you were being prepared for responsibility, because what is coming next will require more than hope. It will require stability. It will require clarity. It will require a version of you that does not panic under pressure. And that version is who I have been building in you all along. Remember every closed door. Remember every unexpected ending. Remember every person who left without explanation. It was not random, it was removal of weight, because I cannot take you forward. If you are still carrying what belongs to your past, commentary moment, think about this. If those things had stayed in your life, would you have had space for what is coming next? My beloved child, you are standing at a threshold right now, and you may not feel it. But heaven has already shifted around you. The season you are in is not the same season you started this story in. Something has already begun to turn quietly, deeply, irreversibly. And now I want you to hear this clearly. The answer you have been waiting for is not just arriving, it is arriving with understanding. Meaning this: when it comes, you will not just receive it, you will understand it, you will recognize why the waiting was necessary. You will see what I was protecting you from. You will realize what I was preparing you for, and you will finally stop calling it delay, because it will all make sense. And when that moment arrives, you will not rush to the next prayer immediately. You will pause, not in confusion, but in awe, because you will see how every delay was actually a design. But before that moment appears fully, there is one final shift I need you to embrace. Stop asking when, and start trusting why, because when feeds anxiety, but why builds peace. My child, you are closer than you think, not to everything changing outside, but to everything changing within you first. And once that inner change is complete, the outer change will no longer feel delayed. It will feel inevitable. So hold steady, not because the storm is over, but because the timing is about to open. My beloved child, if you are still here, it means something inside you has not given up yet. Not fully, not completely. And that small remaining part is enough for me to work with, because I don't need a perfect faith. I only need a remaining one. Even if it's tired, even if it's shaking, even if it's confused. And now, I want you to notice something very carefully. You are not the same person who started this journey, even if your circumstances look similar. You are not the same inside. Something has shifted quietly, but permanently. You feel it in moments you cannot explain, when old fears don't hit as strongly, when certain people don't affect you like before, when some prayers change from desperation to trust. That is not coincidence, that is transformation. Commentary 1 to 3. I don't feel what I used to feel anymore. But I don't know why. Yes, because you are outgrowing survival mode, my child. There is a reason I did not answer everything immediately, because if I had answered too early, you would have received answers but lost strength, and I do not give answers that destroy the person receiving them. So, I worked on something deeper. I worked on your foundation. You thought I was delaying results, but I was strengthening identity, because results without identity collapse quickly, but identity can carry anything. Commentary 2 to 3. 2. Why do I feel like something big is coming, but I don't see it yet? Because you are standing at the edge of transition, and transitions are always felt before they are seen. My beloved child, there are seasons where heaven does not announce change loudly. It prepares it silently, like dawn before sunrise, like pressure before diamonds form, like breath before a word is spoken. And you are in that moment, right? Now, not the beginning anymore, not the ending, yet but the in-between shift. This is the most misunderstood place, because nothing looks different, but everything is becoming different. Commentary 3:3. 3. It feels like my life is paused, but I'm not at peace. That feeling is not stagnation. It is alignment under construction. Listen closely now. I need you to release one belief: that movement always looks like progress, because sometimes progress looks like stillness, sometimes advancement looks like waiting, and sometimes promotion looks like isolation. Remember this: when I separated you from certain things, I was not reducing your life, I was removing distortion from your future. And now you are entering a stage where clarity begins to return, not all at once, but piece by piece, moment by moment, truth by truth. And as clarity returns, Confusion will lose its authority over you, fear will start losing its voice, and doubt will begin to sound unfamiliar because you are not being rebuilt from scratch. You are being restored into alignment, my child. The next part of your journey will feel different, not easier, but clearer, not without challenge, but without blindness. And I want you to be ready for this truth. What confused you for so long will soon start explaining itself, not all at once, but enough for peace to return. So don't rush ahead, don't try to force understanding, don't demand immediate clarity, just stay present in the shift. Because what is forming now is the beginning of your visible turnaround, and when it fully unfolds, you will realize something that will silence every question you ever had. Nothing was random. Not one delay, not one loss, not one silence. Everything was being guided, even when you couldn't feel it, even when you didn't believe it, even when you almost walked away from it, my beloved child. This is the place where most stories try to give you a loud ending, but I will not end this with noise, because what I have been building in you was never meant to end in emotion. It was meant to end in understanding. You have walked through delay. You have walked through silence. You have walked through confusion. And you have walked through the slow unraveling of your own expectations. And now, you are standing in a place you don't fully recognize yet. Not because nothing changed, but because everything changed inside you first. Let me tell you something very important before we close this journey. You never actually lost your way. You only lost your timing. And timing is something I was always holding. There were moments you thought you were being forgotten, but in truth, you were being protected from arriving too early into something you were not yet ready to carry, because early arrival to destiny without preparation feels like blessing at first, but becomes burden later, so I slowed things down, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Commentary 1:4. I used to think delay means I'm behind, but now I feel like I was being prepared. Yes, because not everything that is slow is behind. Some things are being refined. My child, do you remember how many times you tried to force answers? How many nights you demanded clarity? How many times you said, just show me the path clearly? And yet, I did not show everything, not because I was silent, but because you were still becoming someone who could handle what clarity reveals. Because clarity is powerful, and power without preparation can shake a person more than confusion ever did. So I didn't just give you answers. I gave you endurance, and now look at you. You are still here, still breathing, still standing, still reading. That alone is proof that what was meant to break you did not succeed. Commentary 2:4. 2. If I had gotten what I wanted earlier, I think I would have lost myself. That realization is maturity, and maturity is the first sign that timing is aligning. My beloved child, now I want you to understand something that will settle deeply inside your heart. Not everything that left your life was loss. Some of it was removal, some of it was protection, and some of it was simply not meant for the version of you I was creating. Because I was not only answering your prayers, I was editing your path silently, carefully, precisely, and yes, sometimes that editing felt like rejection, but it was actually refinement. You called it delay. I called it design. You called it confusion. I called it construction. You called it silence. I called it strategy, and now the strategy is reaching completion. Commentary 3:4. 3. Why do I feel like I'm at the edge of something, but I can't see it yet? Because you are standing right